Oh, that's great. That's great. Hey, welcome to the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, Crispin Cruz. With the Pipe, yes, we talk about sales process, sales initiatives, sales experiences, and also, obviously, we talk about sales strategy as well. Hey, we've got lots of people on today. It's really going to be great to hear from our friend and a good close friend of mine, and someone that I've known in the sales game for years and years and years. Mark Fonseca, welcome to the Pipe. So listen, we're going to talk about all kinds of different things today, right? And it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of our viewers and listeners, what's happened as we've kind of grown, this audience of the Pipe, it has been really exciting. And, what they've looked for, Mark, and what they've kind of hoped for is guests that are coming on and giving, of course, talking about their sales experience in the past and how they built their businesses, but how they got started, and some of the challenges that they've had, in starting their own business and what they had to do when they're wearing all these different hats. And so, I want to talk about, Fonseca, clothing and, you being a clothier and just all of the exciting things that you went through when you were first starting your business and how it was so important, which we've had discussions about this, offline, but how important it was for you to not only tap in, to your existing, your existing pipeline of opportunities, but also how important it has been, for you to continue to grow through referral. And then also how you had to get out there and, beat the bushes and find, opportunities, by just growing organically. So let's talk about how all this got started.
Well, I told my mom, this is when I was 15 years old. I said, one day I'm going to have my own clothing business. And, every day, it's almost like I have to pinch myself because I'm living my dream. I'm doing something I've always wanted to do. And, it's kind of just the way God wired me is that, I love building relationships. I love working with my clients and really, helping them, what I call the DK, in the world of they don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And so when we go back to, some of those experiences that you had when you were first opening your business, what were some of the challenges? What were some of the things you were coming up against when you think back to that time? And maybe even you said to yourself, wow, if I would have known this then, I would have been so much farther ahead, right?
Yeah, I think, I think about it a lot. If I'd have known one thing, it's all about relationships, right? Relationships trump everything. And even when I was in the copier business, I started selling copiers for Lanier back in the day. And I would think if I was calling on somebody, I knew I had a superior product. But one thing I didn't realize is my client had a superior relationship. And that really trumped everything. So I wish I would have known a lot longer that if someone's got a good relationship, unless the product and service is really bad, the chances of you getting in there are slim to none.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, we talk about buyer behaviors. You and I have talked about that at length and how our program at Sales Arbiter, when we train and coach and mentor, we kind of weaponize this concept of DISC, right? Mm-hmm. And you and I have talked about that as well. And, making those connections is so important. But what happens when you're out there and you're trying to tap into your network, you're trying to build those relationships? What does that look like in your world, Mark?
I think it's, for me, it really helps the people I'm calling on, the CEOs. I mean, they can afford whatever they want, right? They didn't get to the level of success they are without having some, people skills and street skills. So they can smell a sales guy a mile away. So for me, it's really about being a subject matter expert and really knowing my business, being, I guess, more than anything else, really good at what I'm doing. I had a friend of mine ask me one time, he was selling, and he asked me, Mark, how many cancellations do you get a month? And I had to think about that for a while. He was selling for paychecks, and I had my own clothing business. And I thought about it, and I said, I really don't have cancellations. I'll have a lot of people that will, reschedule, but I don't have a lot of cancellations. And the more I thought about it, it's because I'm an owner. I'm a business owner, and he's a salesman. So I think the mentality is so different, and it's really hard. You hear in sales, all your sales managers are always saying, think like a business owner, but it's really hard to think like a business owner if you're not a business owner.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so right. It's so right. Yeah. And so you've got some tips and tricks on how you have expanded your network, like how you have personally, made connections and the things that you've done. What are some of the secrets to expanding your network? Like, or what are some of the things that you've done personally that you could share with the audience on, hey, if you're looking to expand your network, if you're looking to grow, at least visibility for you or your organization, here are maybe some of the things you should be focusing on.
Yeah, I think the number one thing is referrals. When I was with Tom James, I was with Lanier. We were huge on referrals, and we had lists back in the day. We work on lists where if someone became a client, I would go in there and say, thank you for becoming a client, but now you were a prospect and now you're a client. Now I need other people that were just like you that were prospects in order to become clients. So I'd have a list of people. I'd walk in with a list of people, either I guess now would be on their LinkedIn profile or people that they knew in the industry. And I'd go through their list and I'd say, who should I be calling or who should I not be calling? And if you're providing a good service, there's two things that I would tell my clients when I first got their business. I would say, first, don't take my hard work and creative effort and give it to my competition because they don't deserve it and I can't afford it. And I'm always going to ask you for referrals. So going in to the relationship, they knew that almost every time I saw them, I'm going to be asking them for referrals. And, and I'll give a plug to a lot of my Northwestern mutual clients. When you go in to see them, when I get down, before I even sit down in the chair, they'll always say, Mark, I've got 3 names for you. And they're great about referrals. So I think referrals is huge. Leveraging your network, obviously the people that like you and trust you. If they already like you and trust you, then they're going to want other people to experience you. So they're more willing to give you names of other people that you could do business with.
That's great. That's great. And that whole thing about like and trust, I mean, that permeates through every organization. That permeates through every, salesperson's opportunities to grow their own book of business. And, we've got a lot of people watching today. And I think that's also because of the following that you have. I mean, as soon as I announced that we were going to have the great Mark Fonseca on the show, I think a lot of people were excited to hear about you and to talk with, to hear, your story. And so I'll tell you this, it is what resonates with me is partly and parcel to how every or individual should be growing either their pipeline, their book of business, or just growing their network. And it is all about relationships. Like I agree with you on that. And what also resonated with me pretty clearly with what you were saying, Mark, is it takes work. Like you can't it's not just going to happen overnight, right? Because where you're at today with your organization is not where you started. What are a few of the things that, we should be telling the audience or that they should be thinking about when they're trying to move their business forward? They hit, you and I, we've talked about it. We hit some roadblocks along the way. We've hit some, there have been challenges for us as we're continuing to grow our organizations in a very specific way. are there any things that you would share with the audience to say, hey, if you're looking to grow this year, here are some of the things you better be focusing on?
Yeah, for me, as you know, life is my spiritual life. So, that is, realizing that, I control nothing. I control very little. I can control my activity, but at the end of the day, God controls the results. So it's doing something. It's, putting the car in D. It's, making calls. I remember with Lanier and Tom James, when I was with them, we had a schedule. We had our sales motor from 7:30 to 8:30. We're on the street by 9. We're on the street 3 appointments a day, back in the office at 3:00. And then we're making 80 dials a day. So our goal was to make 80 dials, talk to 10 people, and set 3 appointments and sell 1. So I still remember those numbers, and it was crazy that when I was selling copiers and clothing for Tom James, those numbers were still exactly the same. So eventually my closing ratio became about 30%. So I would sell 1 out of every 3 appointments. I would sell 1. And then it got to the point when I had my own business that increased to, I would say, 75 to 80%, because, the buck stops with me, and people will pay you a lot for your subject matter expertise. The more you know, the more you're going to grow, and the more problems you can solve, right? You're a problem solver. I'm a facilitator, right? All I'm doing is, what I love about Sales Arbor and your process is the process, right? You got asking great questions, right? I think a lot of people, they don't ask enough questions. So one of the first questions that I ask, and what's crazy is that, some of the most successful guys in the city have never been asked this question. So this question I ask them, the first question tells them that I really care about. I'm not trying to sell them. I'm really trying to help them look better and feel better. So the question I ask is, if you were to walk into a room of your peers, same social status, same level of education, same career competency, what message do you want to send without saying one word? And they'll be like, wow, no one's ever asked that question, right? And so they'll say, credibility, trust, integrity, intimidation, whatever that message is, I help them send that message with what I do, with their image and their clothing. And it's really all about asking great questions.
Yeah.
And the better questions you ask, the better answers you're going to get. And the more your client's going to trust you, because they really know that it's not about me. It's about them.
Right. And, that's gold. I hope our audience is taking notes, or at least writing some things down and just really absorbing what you just said, because the questioning strategy is so vitally important. And if you find yourself talking about features and benefits in this world of sales now, you're doing it the wrong way. Yeah. If you have a whole list of things that you're just like, oh, I gotta tell you, Mark, about this and this and this and this and this, and I gotta feature and benefit you to death. I've got to throw enough on the wall in hopes that something sticks, right? And if that's the way you're doing it wrong, right? Because it's about the question set that you ask to understand what truly is the compelling reason for your prospect to want to buy your product or service now or in the very near future, right? Because here's the thing. If your prospect is not willing to purchase your product now or in the very near future, then they're not a prospect, they're a suspect. You know it, and I know it. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that you don't put them on a tickler file. That doesn't mean you don't follow up with them. That doesn't mean that you don't, try to move them through the process at a later time. But you're dealing with a prospect. You're dealing with a suspect, baby. You're not dealing with a prospect.
Yeah. One question, I have another business, as you know, my consulting business. So one question I've taken from that business that I incorporate into my clothing business, or really when I'm sitting in front of a prospect, is, on a scale of 1 to 10, right? What would look like a 10 coming out of this meeting for you? What would a home run, after we're finished with this meeting, what would a 10 look like for you coming out of this meeting? And let them tell you.
Mhm.
And they will give you the answer. Well, Mark, a 10 would look like this, or a 10 would look like that. So if you deliver that, they're telling you exactly what they're looking for, then the selling process is really easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a great segue because let's talk about your other business. And this is the benefit of having you on this show today, which I really appreciate you being here. But the benefit of you being on this show today is, folks, we've got a true entrepreneur. Like, this is a true entrepreneur at the heart, at his core. And so, if you want to ask questions, please post them. But Mark, let's talk about your other business a little bit too.
Yeah, Pragmetrix. Essentially, what we do is we help CEOs from being blindsided by customer defections. So people bring us in as a third party. We're kind of like Switzerland. We don't promote or defend, but we're coming in to find out things that are really like to know, but they know they're not going to get the truth because people don't want to hurt your feelings, right? So my wife might not tell me I'm, putting on a few pounds, but she'll tell her girlfriend at the pool. And that's really essentially what Pragmetrix is about, is we find out whatever you want to know. Where I feel like sometimes a priest in a confessional or a bartender, that just, even think about it in your own life. You go to a bar, you go someplace, you meet somebody, you'll tell a stranger some things your whole life that you wouldn't tell anybody else. And, people know we allow them to remain anonymous. And once we do that, and they know that we have no agenda, only to get the truth and to deliver a better experience and better service for our client, then they're willing to open up and tell us what we really want to know. So our tagline is, the truth will set you free.
It's awesome. That's awesome. Now, without naming names, you got to tell the story about how you went into this one organization, and just by uncovering some, information for them on what I think it was their biggest client.
Yeah.
We're not talking about just a few shekels here.
Yeah.
Would you mind talking through that with the audience as well?
No. So we had a client, and it was a Vistage client, Vistage member. So a lot of our business comes from Vistage, and they're about a $40 million account. So bottom line was 40 million. And so they brought us in to talk to their clients, and their biggest client was a third of their revenue. They had one client that was a third of their revenue. And, it was interesting. One of the questions that we ask our clients is, on a scale of 0 to 10, what score do you think your clients are going to give you? And, the president and the VP of sales were in there, and the head of operations was in there. And they all three said that this client would give them a 7 or an 8. Well, when I called them, and I talked to the person that actually was renewing their contract, initially he wouldn't return their call. So part of the process is our client, the CEO, reaches out to the clients and says, "Hey, we're bringing Pragmetrix in. Would you talk to them for, a few minutes and tell them about your experience?" Well, there was 4 people that he wanted me to call at this one particular client, and they weren't returning his calls or emails. And so that to me was telling, because there's a problem. Well, then he asked me, he said, "Mark, would you mind reaching out to them?" I reached out to them. Within 24 hours, I got a response that this person would be willing to talk to me. And he was the one that was responsible for renewing their next contract. So when I caught him on the phone, I said, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10, 0 being not likely and 10 being highly likely, what score would you give them? And he gave them a 2. He said, they're a 2. He said, they're absolutely horrible. He said, we're actually looking for a replacement for them. And so after that, he said, but since they brought you in, they obviously realized the problem. And we'll give them 90 days to 120 days to right the ship. And they ended up doing that based on the feedback that we gave them, and they were fortunate enough to renew their contract last year. So they renewed their contract for another 3 years.
Another 3 years, which equated to how many millions was that?
I probably would say $45 million.
Can you imagine? I mean, those that are listening and watching, can you imagine just being able to go in and have an organization like Pragmetrix that can come in and really dig into those types of challenges that you may not even know about. You may not even know, that that's happening in your business. And we so often, and this is, we get in this place of the comfort zone, which we talk about. We get in this very comfortable position with some of our best clients, and we forget that they're still a client and that we're still, that we're still pushed to serve in a very specific way. And I love that. I love the phrase, the truth will set you free, because it will, right? That's something that you've proven time and time again.
Yeah. So we have another saying that says, customer retention is the new acquisition, because you can hit just about all of your sales goals within your existing customer base.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're giving them a great experience and know exactly what they want.
Right. And that's also part of it, and I've had other guests on the show that have talked about there's at least at minimum 20% increase in your revenue by just simply going back and asking the question, how else can we serve you? How else can we help you? What are other things that we could be doing collectively to work with you and to, assist you in continuing to help your organization grow? And, it is spot on when those individuals are saying there is gold in them there hills, right?
Yeah, there's a difference between, satisfaction and loyalty. Jeffrey Gintmer says, satisfaction is worthless, loyalty is priceless. And you really want loyal clients. So, when we ask that question, the 0 to 10 question, anything less than a 9 or a 10, your customer is at risk of leaving you. And then your revenue is at risk. Only if you're getting 9s and 10s are they going to remain loyal. So you really need to find out whether your customers are satisfied or if they're loyal, because loyal clients exhibit 3 behaviors. Number 1, they're going to continue to do business with you. They'll buy other products and services. And then most importantly, they'll give you unsolicited word of mouth referrals without you even having to ask them, and grow your business for you.
Right. So our friend Leo is chiming in right now. I'd like to focus on his question for a minute, Mark. For those of us early in our consulting business who are not qualified for Vistage due to our size, or there's an expense related with Vistage as well. So, maybe it's not just the size, but it's the investment, right? What would you recommend on how to grow the business and connect with more people? I know what my answer is, but I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, I do a lot of speaking engagements. All my speaking engagements are pro bono. Anytime I have, I would say even through Vistage, 80% of my business comes through doing lunch and learns. So I would say, Leo, anytime you have an opportunity to speak, whether it's at networking events, Rotary events, if you've never taken a Toastmasters course, I would highly recommend. That's where I learned to do presentations. So I would say, for me, I love to speak. And a lot of times when you're speaking and you're giving a presentation, you're seen as an expert, and that automatically sets you apart from your competitors just because you're up there. So that would be one thing, is to find an opportunity to speak to anybody that'll listen.
I love
especially, business owners and going find where your prospects are and either give presentations or do, I know Doug Lehman's on the call, video. Video is a great tool. Post a lot of video content on LinkedIn, and you just want to be seen as a subject matter expert. So the more, one of my mentors used to tell me, living's about giving. So the more you're giving yourself away, people will see that and, they'll resonate with that.
That's right. And I'm going to take a page from our friend, Doug Lehman as well, is that here's something that he's doing that's unique that could also help you, Leo. And so I don't have many original ideas because people don't realize this, but I'm really not that smart. I just take the best from everyone else that I can potentially learn from, and then try to emulate that. So I'll tell you, here's one of the things that you can do that will cost you nothing. If you have a decent, and it doesn't even have to be a big, all right, but a decent network in LinkedIn, you send a personalized message to 10 targets a day. It doesn't have to be crazy. Okay. 10 targets a day, a personalized message with a little video. Now, the message has to be short and sweet, and it also has to communicate your value proposition. And it also has to say something like, if you're interested in having a conversation, but then the video can just be a little short and sweet video, introducing yourself, what the value prop is, and asking them if they're interested to reach back out. And I'm telling you, it's gold. I'm telling you that process is gold. Try it, see how it goes, right? Work the process. Listen, it's not going to happen overnight. All right. People do not build their businesses overnight. It just doesn't happen, right? So you got to be dedicated to making that part of your process every day, going out and trying to build your company organically. All right. But start there and see what happens. Okay. Good stuff. All right. So let's go back to you, Mark. So let's talk about this. What are the 3 things that people need to focus on this year, right? If they want to grow their business, if they want to, try to do some different things, if they want to try to make sure that they're filling their pipelines, that they're getting out there, what are the 3 things that, people should be focusing on this year, which they still have time. There's still time, right? But focusing on this year to make sure that they are doing at least something on the organic side to continue to grow their business the right way.
Yeah, I'd say, the first thing is sharpen your saw, right? Be really, really good at what you do. Know your product inside and out, and also leveraging your network. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm actually going into a lot of my past clients, a lot of my orphans that I've had, and reestablishing those relationships, and it's starting to bear fruit. And then also to go into your existing customer base. I'm telling you, like Crispin said, there is gold inside your existing customer base, and find out what other products and services that they may need I can't tell you how many clients that we call for have no idea that they sell other things. We had one client where we got them a $2 million engagement with NCR because NCR didn't know that our client provided a service. So making sure that your clients know all the products and services that you provide, and try to get going in deeper and getting more entrenched in your customer base would be that. And then, like I said, leveraging your network and referrals, taking people to lunch, and really giving yourself away, taking people to lunch, getting to know some of your clients, and the better, giving them a great experience. And the better experience they have, the more they're going to tell other people about you and want to share you with them.
That's awesome. That's great advice. Well, this is the time that we kind of move into what we call the Sales Arbiter 7. And again, this is a concept or idea that I stole from our friend James Lipton, God rest his soul, from inside the actor's studio. And I love talking about, the actor and the actress, and how, we are playing a role when we're out there, and we're engaging with people and trying, to make that sale. And we're trying to engage with our prospects and our clients in a very purposeful way. And I also talk about in our training, as you know, Mark, keeping your identity and your role separate, right? Your identity is who you are and the experiences that you've had and all of the things that make you who you are today. But your role is your role. Don't let role failure impact your identity, right?
Yeah,
don't let that bring you down, and don't let that impact your attitude, which is really, really important to keep in check every single day as we've chosen to be entrepreneurs, as we've chosen to be salespeople. We have to keep that attitude at what I call an I-10. You're an I-10. You're a 10 every day, baby. You're a 10 every day, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so I've kind of taken this concept from our friend, James Lipton, and it's just a little thing that I do called the Sales Arbiter 7, where I ask you questions and then our audience gets to know you maybe in a different way. So you're willing to participate in that? I would love to have you do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. All right. So the first question, what is your favorite word, Mark? What's your favorite word?
Surrender.
That's interesting. Tell me why.
Well, at the end of the day, I control nothing. And a lot of times for me, I can just tell you within the last 30 days, I've gained 6 new clients that I had nothing to do with. Now, on the other hand, I've been working my butt off, making cold calls, sending texts, and nothing has happened. Right. So for me, it's all about surrendering my will. And in my spiritual life, surrendering my will. Like I said, I control the activity. God controls the results. And so really what I'm focused on is surrendering and giving that all over to him.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. What is your least favorite word?
Can't. Or no.
Right. Pretty obvious on the reasons why there, right?
Yeah. I don't take no very well.
Yeah. I figured that was the case.
Yeah.
That's great. What is something that could make your day? What's something that could make your day?
Something just made my day, professionally is when I deliver. I just saw a guy delivered his clothes. He was ready to go to a conference. He's in Vegas right now. And his clothes came in. I delivered his clothes to his house and everything fit him great. He looked amazing. And that's my deliverable, changing people's lives. That's really what gets me out of bed and knowing that what I do is going to change somebody's life. And I have, no idea, what the day is going to bring, but, I just delivering from my client at the end of the day, because I get joy from making that deliverable.
Listen to that. I mean, changing people's lives. Imagine if we woke up every day and we said to ourselves, you know what? Today I'm going to have an impact on someone that maybe they never expected, right? In some way, I'm going to change their professional life or their personal life in some way. And if we had that as the goal for that day, then what would that look like in our production? What would that look like throughout our experiences throughout that day? Or what would it look like at the end of the day? Yeah,
I mean, we're all here for a purpose, and we all have gifts, talents, and abilities that the world needs. And our job is to figure out what that is.
Great stuff. Okay. What's something that could ruin your day, Mark?
Knowing that I didn't deliver that experience, knowing that, on this type right now, I just made a mistake on about 12 shirts, and I gave the guy the wrong collar for me, when I let a client down, that ruins my day for me, knowing that I wasn't able to deliver that experience that I want them to have.
Yeah. So, the next question is, what sound or noise, do you love? And I'm sure it wasn't the sound that you made when you realized you delivered
right.
You tailored the wrong collar for those shirts.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure it wasn't that sound.
Yeah.
But what sound or noise do you
love? I think, like I said, going back in the morning, I love hearing I love hearing the sound of a new day. I love hearing. I have this one tree outside my office, my window. This cardinal is there every morning, and just hearing the sound. The birds chirping, just, the sound of a new day, knowing that, yesterday's in the past and today's a new day and another day to keep it moving.
It's awesome. What sound or noise do you hate?
Hmm. Crying babies.
Mm. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I got it. That's right.
Knowing they're in
Yeah,
pain, they can't tell you what's wrong. So, trying to figure that out. You never like to see.
That's right.
Babies
We've probably never been told that we lack communication skills, you and I. So it's like,
right.
When there's a crying baby and they can't tell you what's happening or what's wrong, it's like,
right.
Right. I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you have liked to attempt?
Yeah, it's easy. I want to be a firefighter. I went to, I took 2 years of emergency medicine, and then I did my smokehouse training, and I was about 2.5 weeks from becoming a firefighter. And then, I met this girl, and she said, well, you don't want to be a firefighter. You need to go into sales. So she ended up sending me to a sales recruiter. I'll never forget her name. Her name was Gloria Starr in Detroit. And she ended up sending me to Lanier. And that kind of changed everything when I started selling copiers.
That was it.
Yeah, I'd be a firefighter.
Wow, that's amazing. And you got stung by the sales entrepreneurial bee.
I did.
And that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
Well, before we sign off for today, and again, thank you so much for being on the show, Mark. It means the world to me.
It's great.
It really
does. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And so let's tell the audience, like, how do they get in touch with you for, you being a clothier? How do they get in touch with you and then they can talk with you about either. They can talk with you about, Fonseca Clothing, or they can talk to you about, Pragmetrix. How do they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, I'm pretty old school. So the best thing is I love the phone, right? And so pick up the phone and give me a call, 404-983-4121. Email me, MBF, M as in Mark, B as in boy, F as in Frank @dresstheman.com. Or, certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to my profile. Or go to my website, click on the contact me. And so there's a few ways to reach out to me.
That's awesome. Give that phone number one more time, because I want your phone to be ringing.
Yeah, 404-983-4121.
And if you're anything like me, it comes right to you.
Yeah.
Like it comes right to you. And if that's not another lesson, it should be, right?
Yeah.
When people need or want to talk with you about your product or service, give them an easy pathway to connect with you. Right.
Yeah. So if someone puts their phone number on their LinkedIn profile, they're going to be getting, if you put your phone number, they're going to be getting the call.
Use it. That's right. Use it. Okay. Great to have you on, Mark. Thank you so much. I know the audience got a lot out of it today. I close every show like this. Keep selling and have fun doing it. Keep selling and have fun doing it. Thanks again, Mark.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right.
Have a great day.
You too.